that you said from the ages, from the time you were 7 to 23, there wasn't a day that you didn't think about ending your life.
For sure.
You went through some dark times during your football journey as well. Like, football was everything to you. Football was big to me too. So
Right.
it was like boom, 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 and you just kept getting up, man.
Struggled, man. Really struggled my freshman year. End up moving on and moving forward, but I ended up getting into some serious things, some serious depression for about 4 attempts on my life. To the point where I almost felt like I just wasn't ready to be on this earth anymore, man. And I made a commitment to myself during my last attempt on my life that I was no longer going to allow myself just to be beat up, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you believe in, whether it's God or whatever you believe in, right? The universe. I believe in Jesus Christ myself. And with that said, I was tired of losing to the devil, but also getting my butt whooped by me. Like, going into my sophomore year, man, I was in a position where mentally I was trying to be the healthiest that I've ever been. You know what I'm saying? Like, was working my butt off, trying to continue to hold that promise to myself, hold that promise to God that I was no longer to ever be back in the space that I was in Miami. And then they ended up putting me in the game, and I ended up getting hurt on the only play I ended up playing that game, which is crazy, right? And in that experience, bro, I almost died on the football field. I knew as soon as I got in that ambulance, I was never coming back to this game, right? After they did the x-ray, and no bullshit, 5 to 10 minutes later, came back in. I'm like, oh no. Like, this gotta be bad. Like, I've never gotten an x-ray this fast, right? Boom, he comes back in, he said, listen, son. He said, you got an option here, right? Like, we gotta put you under, you have no choice. I need you to sign this paper because if we don't put you under, you're gonna die. And in this moment, it was like a God moment for me, right? Because, like, the kid that was just messing with his life, right, now doesn't really have a choice. And in that moment, bro, I'm just sitting here for a second, kind of depressed, right? Like, just for a second, a split second, I'm like, that mindset that I once had tried to creep back in. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember hearing God say, get up. Like, my eyes are closed, Bill. Like, at this point, like, my eyes are closed. I'm high as it all can be from this, all the drugs that they done gave me. And I just remember hearing God say, get up. And I'm like, no. I remember just feeling myself be like, no, I'm not doing this right now. And he was like, get up. And I'm just like, I woke up and I opened my eyes. And I remember calling my boy, like, bro, like, I don't understand right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't understand, but I don't feel broken. Like, I don't feel like it's over. Like, I just don't feel like the game's over. It just didn't make sense. And I was like, bro, like, to be honest with you, it has to be God. And since then, I've been really sitting here thinking, and I've even pondered to that day, to this day, just thinking, like, why did you choose me? And I've come up with this conclusion, like, when you're chosen, right, you don't decide on the grief you go through. There's this warrior complex, and I couldn't even understand why I was feeling this way, but I was like, you're not gonna break me again. And then that devil creeped back in. He started talking to me again. And the one analogy that I tend to use nowadays, and now I think about it, it even goes back to then. When you look down at the ground with your eyes open, that's the opportunity for the devil to laugh at you, because that's what he's been wanting. The only time I bow my head is in front of my Lord.
So powerful what you've done, man, like in the journey and everything, because God did put you in this position. God did put you in this position you're at right now in life. Gave you the microphone that you have right now in life too. Gave you the microphone you had at Pitt too, to reach out and touch people too. And that microphone's only going to get bigger, in my opinion. What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder. And today I got a very special guest, a friend of mine. We've been on a few episodes of podcasts together, his personally and the Top Contractor podcast. And every time we get together, it's a heck of a show. So I'm excited for you guys to listen to Tre on this show. He's obviously a great friend of mine. He's a speaker. He's a leader. He was a pass wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Panthers, 2015, 2021, 2021 Disney Spirit Award winner, which we'll talk about that a little bit. Founder of Love, which supports student athletes in their experiences of overcoming adversity or living out victoriously every day. So another thing is he's a director of business development for One Team Media, co-host of the Athletic Aesthetic podcast, and host of Trade Talk. Man's got a heck of a resume. There's probably something I missed, but Tre Tipton, welcome to the Real Build, man. How you doing today?
I'm good, baby. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Like this is long time coming, man. I'm glad to have relaunched this show just because I can be have more guests on, have more different people, different guests, not just straight construction guys. And obviously, you're kind of a construction guy now, so I guess it kind of goes with the show as well too. But I'm excited to dive into you, who Tre Tipton is. But let's get started with that. Who is Tre Tipton?
Man, that's actually a loaded question. Tre Tipton is a kid from a small town, small neighborhood, right? Paulo, PA. Moved all over the place. I was not a military kid, but I did do a lot of moving, man. So I went from the country to the suburbs to the hood to everywhere in between and seen a lot of things, did a lot of things, but fell in love with the game of football, right? And sports in general. My first love was baseball, second love was basketball, third love was football, which is crazy, but it's the truth. During those time periods, man, like any other kid that's in the neighborhood or in the city, man, I struggled a lot. Went through a lot of different things, suffered some depression, some anxiety, and some other things like that. Got into a little bit of trouble, but then realized that my life was heading in a path that I really didn't want it to go. So I made a decision, right? Life is about choices, and I ended up making the right choice and trying to change my life. So in doing so, man, I made a commitment to my mom, my dad, my family that I was going to get a Division I scholarship at a very young age. And from where I was coming from, in Apollo, PA, man, a lot of people told me it wasn't possible. There was only one other person who ever came close to Division I. He was a preferred walk-on, but nobody ever really earned a scholarship. So with that said, man, I was on a mission that was to do something that has never been done. Kind of, kind of speaks to who I am now because I'm kind of still that way, right? And I did that, man. I went and got a scholarship to the University of Pittsburgh. Had about 14 to 15 different scholarships before I cut off my recruiting process. Once I got my dream school, which was the University of Pittsburgh, man, I cut it all off, man, and just stayed locked into the squad. Um, Went there, suffered through some things, but also had some great experiences. Ended up winning an ACC championship in 2021, but end up being there for 7 years. So therefore, old head, old guy on a young team. You know what I'm saying? But I was 25 with a bunch of 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds, right? And it was something that was very special, though, man. I had a lot of injuries, suffered a lot of different things mentally, physically, and emotionally, but very thankful, very blessed to be in my current position and to be where I'm at right now. Now I'm at One Team Media as a director of business development with a bunch of guys who are just as crazy as me. So like, it makes life easier, man. I'm happy to be where I'm at.
Talk about that journey a little bit, man. I dove into some of the trials and stuff that you've gone through in life too, especially during your college years too. Uh, there was something you said as well in a video that you said from the ages, from the time you were 7 to 23, there wasn't a day that you didn't think about ending your life.
For
Um,
sure.
you went through some dark times during your football journey as well. Like football was everything to you. Football was big to me too, which we'll get into that discussion a little bit too. But I want to talk to you about, like college and then, going through those rough times and getting injured your freshman year and then recovering from that injury. Then you got hit, collapsed lung,
Right.
then once again after that recovered, and then you tore your ACL. So it
Right.
was like boom, 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 and you just kept getting up, man. But talk about those times a little bit in your life and how you got through it, man, because it takes a lot to get through that stuff.
What's crazy is, Bill, is that although I suffered a lot of injuries, that wasn't even the toughest thing that I was going through at that time, right? As a freshman coming out of high school, man, everybody believes that you're that big fish still, right? Like you believe that I'm still big dog, I'm still top dog, right? So I did my best to become one of the top guys on the team and end up getting the opportunity to play on Saturdays, right, as a freshman. During that time period, man, I was dating a young lady that was also suffering through a lot of trauma that she had not spoken about. And it was very rough, man, because her trauma ended up becoming my trauma, and I still had things that I wasn't dealing with. You know what I mean? So on top of that, I wasn't really going to class because I was dealing with her issues and my issues. And then on top of that, I was trying to play a sport, wasn't sleeping, wasn't really able to be present in my current life, right? At that time. Um, and this is extremely explicit, but it's the truth, man. She was actually in a serious situation to the point where it was causing her not to sleep at all. To the point where in the middle of the night she'd be screaming and terrified of her father and her stepmother because they're physically harming her in a sexual manner.
Oh,
And
wow.
as a man, right, it's very difficult to hear that because it's that's her biological father that's trying to sexually harass her and do very, very disturbing things to her, as well as her stepmother. So as any man, right, you want to be the provider, the protector, and the lover, but I felt like I couldn't do any of those things, as well as trying to go to school, trying to be an athlete, trying to do things that, I dreamed about. You know what I'm saying? So during that time period, man, I was struggling, had a lot of mental health issues, dealt with a lot of things that I had not talked about at that time and just was dealing with them, but hadn't talked to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And then now add on top of that, now she's going through a group of things that I've never dealt with before in my life, never even thought to deal with, right? So even in times of despair and pain, man, we would try to have conversations and it just didn't work because she was going through so much. We end up splitting. There were so many things that was going on with her and myself that we end up going our different ways. But there was a lot of tragedy in between those times, right? Man, I ended up losing my first child um, as well as almost losing her in the process, right? And it was very difficult because I could understand why she felt that way and what she was going through because for any man to do that to any female is disrespectful and ugly, right? But to also have your stepmother and your father partake, and the only reason why you're there in the first place, and this is where it really started to beat on me, is the fact that the reason why she was even in that space was because of me. And the reason why I say that is because her parents, right, which is her mom and her stepfather, didn't like the fact that I was a black male and she was a white woman. So they kicked her out of the house, and the only place that she had to go was to go live with this man, which ended up becoming a lot more serious, as you could tell. And I did everything I could to make sure that she was safe, but there was times that I could do nothing. And that was difficult, man. I ain't gonna lie. That was probably the most difficult thing that I went through and had suffered through as an 18-year-old kid, right? Trying to figure out life, but still trying to be a man. You know what I mean? Stand in front and to stand tall. So struggled, man. Really struggled my freshman year. Um, End up moving on and moving forward, but I end up getting into some serious things, some serious depression for about 4 attempts on my life. To the point where I almost felt like I just wasn't ready to be on this earth anymore, man. So I struggled. I really struggled my freshman year, man. And I made a commitment to myself during my last attempt on my life, that I was no longer going to allow myself just to be beat up, right? Like it doesn't matter what you believe in, whether it's God or whatever you believe in, right? The universe. I believe in Jesus Christ myself. And with that said, I was tired of losing to the devil, but also getting my butt whooped by me. And I was doing both, right? And on my final attempt of my life, I made a commitment to myself that I would no longer ever be in that position ever again. And in that experience, bro, it changed me, right? Like I had an opportunity to really call it quits and to really jump off a bridge, to be quite frank with you. And I ended up not doing it. I made a decision that that person that I used to be died that day. And for that reason, I was going to be a new person. Now, the times get easier? For sure not, Bill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For sure
Yeah.
not. But I became stronger, right? You know what I'm saying? And became so strong to the point where I didn't know what was to come next in my life, right? Because almost my whole time in college, bro, I was always fighting something, right? And it kind of just got to a point where I was like, man, like, okay, I got to be a real superhero because this stuff that I'm going through just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? So had to really lock in, really find out who I was as a man, right? And stand on my own two feet, man. And once I figured that out a little bit, man, things didn't get easier, but I definitely got stronger. But yeah, that was the toughest part in terms of my depression was my freshman year, then leading into my sophomore year. And I hope I'm not too long-winded, Bill.
No,
There's
you're
a lot
fine.
that
Keep
happened during
going.
this time
No,
period.
keep going. Keep going.
But going into my sophomore year, man, I was in a position where mentally I was trying to be the healthiest that I ever been. You know what I'm saying? Like was working my butt off, trying to continue to hold that promise to myself, hold that promise to God that I was no longer to ever be back in the space that I was in. And then trying to hold that promise, man, like I was experiencing a different side of me, right? Like I'm balling, I'm killing dudes, man. I'm going into the games, like I'm hyped, right? We out there whooping people's asses. Like it was just feeling good, you feel me? So going into Miami, man, I believe that I was one of the top guys on the team in terms of receiver. Our senior ended up coming back that was injured, that which allowed me to play that year. And in that experience, he got injured again in Miami. And then they ended up putting me in the game and I ended up getting hurt on the only play I ended up playing that game, which is crazy, right? And in that experience, bro, I almost died on the football field. So it was crazy because the year before and year prior, I was trying to kill myself. And then now I'm here, I'm healthy, I feel good. Mentally, I'm here. Emotionally, I'm here. Everything, I'm here. I'm all right. Spiritually, I'm here, right? And in that moment, I get hit so hard that the doctor told me I had a better chance in the car crash. Dude knocked me unconscious. So I remember being in the game, right? And I remember in practice that whole week, Bill. This is what's funny. I know you know this lie because every coach tells this lie. If you don't like the play, we'll take it out. How many times have you heard that lie, Bill? How many times have you heard that lie, right? So it's funny because I remember being in practice and my man Jordan Whitehead currently plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He was like, every time I'm running the same play, right, Bill, this man keeps running past me. Oh, I'm like, coach, dog, like this ain't gonna work. like I'm this close to death every time he's in the game, right? And the guy we were going against, he wasn't no schmuck neither. Like he was elite, right? About 6'3", 6'4", 225, probably ran like a 4.3, 4.4. And I'm like, yeah, coach, this ain't gonna work, man. Not against this team. Let's throw this one out and let's think of something different, right? Go a different route. Well, my guy gets hurt, man. My boy Dantes Ford, shout out. He gets hurt, and they're like, Trey, get in. I'm like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking sticks coming, you know what I'm saying? Slants, something quick, you know what I mean? Because right now we're getting sacked a lot. Something quick's coming, I'm good. He calls the play, Bill. Bill, he calls the play that I told him not to call, Bill. He calls the play. He puts me in the game and calls the play. So he calls the play, man. And I remember, right? I remember exactly all how it went. Started out one high, right? I seen the boundary safety. He came down low hole, right? And then I seen the one high safety. So in my head, I'm like, yo, it's good to go. And I know it's about to rotate. So the middle of the field is wide open. You know what I'm saying? So the goal was we had 4 verticals. The guy at number 2, you had to read the middle of the field, right? So if it's open, you hit it. If not, you stay in your lane. Well, I see it open up, but the safety's coming off the hash a little bit faster than I was anticipating, right? So in my head, I remember telling my man Nate Peterman, I said, hey, bro, like, let's not throw this if there's more than 2 people around me, you feel me? And, bro, I ain't even gonna lie, Bill. First dude's in front of me, hit him with something, right? Second dude, I see the safety, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm on him, right? So then I post in and I look at the quarterback, but then I see this big-ass avatar coming, right? Like, when I say avatar, this man was huge, right? Coming, full speed. And I'm like, oh, there's no way he's throwing this ball. Like, I got 3 people around me. I look back at the quarterback, Bill. This man is staring me down. I'm like, oh, man. like,
Yeah.
like, everything I said was going to happen is about to happen right now. You know what I'm saying? So I see the ball, man. I see him there. I'm like, don't throw it. Don't throw it. He throws it. As he throws it, I make a life decision. I'm like, you know what? I ain't no chump. Either I'm going to go get it or I'm just not. I'm like, and I ain't never been, you know what I'm saying, a feline, so I'm going to go ahead and be a dog. So I went up and tried to get it, right? He threw the ball a little bit high. The guy behind me held me there while he just crushed me, Bill. Knocked me unconscious. I caught the ball, though. Knocked me unconscious. When I came to, I thought my wrist was broken, but I was like, I'm good. Let's just get off the sideline. Let's go handle business, go see what the x-rays say. Then hopefully I can come back out. That's what they were telling me, so that's what I was rolling with, right? Now, mind you, as I'm trying to get off this field, Bill, I'm going left to right. not really knowing where I'm at. And I know you've had a concussion before playing linebacker,
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah.
you can't really tell where you at. You just, you
No.
know you there, right? And they take me back through the x-ray. They're like, yeah, you look good. Go back out there and play. So I go back out there and play. And halftime comes, and my boy Rara Rougeau Lopes, long name, couldn't say it 3 times if I tried. He's like, bro, you don't look all right. I'm like, I'm good, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel good. Let's go play. Let's go win this game. By the way, we end up losing this game 50-16. So all this stuff I'm telling you end up not being worth it for not a damn. So end up being, I'm good. I go back out there and play. Halftime comes. Rara checks on me. He's like, I'm not good. I said, I'm good, bro. He said, you're not breathing for real. I'm like, bro, I'm good. Doctors call me over. 4 of the 5 doctors say, look, he looks good. But the one doctor who saved my life, I'll never forget it. He was like, something in my gut doesn't seem right. And that's dangerous, right, Bill? Because 4 out of 5, I know you went to school. 4 out of 5, we had a B+. I'm taking that all day. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking that into the grave. So, like, 4 out of 5 said I was okay. The one said I wasn't. They lied and was like, you get in this ambulance, you can come back if they say you good. I knew as soon as I got in that ambulance, I was never coming back to this game, right? Got into the ambulance, I'm good. Then the doctors, when I pulled up there, man, Jackson Memorial, you know where that's at in Miami?
Mm-hmm.
So I pull up, beautiful nurses, completely beautiful nurses, right? But they stripped me butt naked in the middle of like everywhere. Like anybody who was driving by or walking by seen my butt cheeks by far. right? So I'm like, oh, like we gotta get right. Like you got me out here looking wild. Like, so they get me in there, man. They take some X-rays, and getting an X-ray, bro, it always takes about an hour before you really get the results that you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, Bill, they went out after they did the X-ray, and no bullshit, 5 to 10 minutes later, came back in. I'm like, oh no. Like this gotta be bad. Like I've never gotten an X-ray this fast, right? Boom, he comes back in. He said, listen, son, he said, you got an option here, right? Like, we got to put you under. You have no choice. I need you to sign this paper because if we don't put you under, you're going to die. I said, hold on, bro. Because I'm having conversations with him like this, Bill. Like the way me and you talking, Bill, is how I'm talking to this doctor. So in my head, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? But he's like, no, your lung is collapsing. We got to reinflate your lung. We got to put you under. You might be awake for it, but I doubt it. Man, I signed this paper. They put this thing on my face, Bill, woke up. As soon as I woke up, Bill, there's this black general. He used to be a general. He retired or something like that, or a colonel or something like that, right? He retired, so now he's just a nurse at the Jackson Memorial. Black guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, listen here, young fella. He said, I don't mean to make your day worse, but he said, if you don't breathe into that little tube that you got right next to you, you're going to go into a coma by tomorrow. Now, in my head, Bill, I'm like, first of all, I didn't even want to do this in the first place. In my head, I'm fine. But he's like, hey, if you don't get that blood out of your chest, you'll go into a coma by tomorrow. And in this moment, it was like a God moment for me, right? Because like the kid that was just messing with his life, right, now doesn't really have a choice. You know what I'm saying? So like in that moment, I'm like, wow, like I went from trying to kill myself to now my life is not in my hands anymore. Like you either got to commit to God or you commit to death. You know what I mean? So in that moment, I said, okay, Trey, we got to figure this out. So I started breathing this breathing apparatus. I had to relearn how to breathe, Bill. And that's something that we've been doing since we're toddlers. You know what I'm saying? I had to relearn how to breathe and really be able to breathe with a like that was difficult, right? So I was spitting out chunks of blood about this big, Bill. And I don't mean to hold you up, but this is one of my favorite stories to tell.
No,
It's the
no,
funniest.
yeah.
It's the funniest of them all. But I was spitting out chunks of blood this big, Bill. And during that time process, man, I'm like, am I ever gonna be okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I ever gonna be able to play ball again? And as I'm sitting there, it was like God like sent somebody to me, bro. He was like, yo, why are you in your feelings right now? Like I felt that, Bill. Like I genuinely felt that. I don't even know if I ever said this to anybody, but genuinely felt was like, yo, like God was like, why are you in your feelings right now? Like you wasn't just about to kill yourself last year. Boom, snapped me out. I was like, yo, I'm gonna compound interest on my positivity. Like, I gotta make sure I'm the best I could possibly be for the people that's around me. And there was these people, these nurses, man. My man Yusef, I'll never forget his name, man. He constantly every day told me what medicine was going in my body, what was gonna happen, how I was gonna feel. And in that experience, man, they never not had a smile on their face, Bill. So I was like, whoa, if they're smiling through all this tragedy, right? Because in Florida, bro, y'all got so many different animals and things going on. They had animal impact units and all this extra stuff I've never seen in the ICU, Bill. I'm like, yo, like, what's going on in Florida, bro? like this ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? And the guy next to me was a John Doe or whatever you call it, right? He got hit by a train and survived. So I'm like, I'm better than he is right now. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm living, he's living, but like Bill, my man's body was here, here, and here. He had one leg, one arm. I'll never forget what he looked like. Then the guy diagonal from me got shot in his Adam's apple. Then the guy across from me was in a car accident. So I'm the most healthiest person in this whole goddamn building. You feel me? So seeing these nurses consistently smiling, consistently finding a reason to keep positivity, it inspired me to be like, okay, we can't go back to the dark days. If we go back to the dark days, they'll get dark fast because I'm taking, like, Bill, I'm taking real pills here. Like, I'm taking real drugs here, like Dilaudid, oxycodone, Percocet, right? These drugs that you can easily get addicted to. You know what I mean? They say Dilaudid is like the next step from heroin. And if you take too much of it, you can it can become a habit for you when you leave, right? So in this moment, man, I made that decision and it changed my life, bro. So after that moment happened, it led into my junior year, ended up pretty much tearing every ligament um, in my left knee other than the artery. And in that moment, man, I was like, man, like I can't win. You feel me? Like at that point, I was like, I got a decision to make. Like, what am I gonna do? Because that year was supposed to be the year that I got drafted in my head, Bill. Like, coaches is telling me, players is telling me, everybody's like, yo, you're the next GOAT. Let's go get it. I tear almost every ligament. I'm hurting. hurting, tears in my eyes to the point where like I'm crying every day type. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom, my dad told them all I was going to get them the house, car, the boat, everything in between, man. And I felt at that moment my dream just slipped away. Um, so in that experience, I made an organization called Love Center for Living Out Victoriously Every Day, and that was a peer-to-peer group that I had created because I didn't want athletes to feel the way that I felt. Right, like I was depressed. I was seriously sitting in my own weeping and never really felt like I was home. Never really felt like I had somebody to really lean on. Right, and I went and found it, right? I went and created a community full of athletes, end up seeing around 456 athletes and helping them through their trials and tribulations and really creating some real bonds and some real cool things, man. So that opportunity I'm forever grateful for the people who decided to show up and to be a part, right? That end up continuing until about 2020. And like I told you, Bill, times didn't get easier. They got harder. Me and my coach, my fifth year. I mean, going into my fourth year, had a falling out, told me he wasn't going to play me. I was like, bro, I didn't just go through all this rehab for nothing. You feel me? Told me he wasn't going to play me. I'm thinking about the transfer. Fifth year comes around. They say he's fired. So I end up staying. Now my next opportunity's here. I'm starting again. Tear my ACL again. I'm like, yo, like, again, can't catch a break. Trying to stay positive is becoming very difficult. Right after I tear my ACL, bro, at that point in my head, my career is over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want to think about ball no more, bro. I'm tired of just being hurt. I'm tired of having to go through all this different series of things. And then I get a call from my coach, like, listen, we believe in you. We want to give you a 6 year. I'm like, yo, this is unheard of, cuz like 6 years, bro. Like, damn, like I done did a whole bit in jail already. You know what I'm saying? So got my 6 year and then COVID happened, right? So and this is a story I don't really tell often, but people don't really understand when I say this, bro. When COVID happened, bro, that means all rehab stopped. So right when my surgery happened is when COVID happened. I had nowhere to rehab my knee. For those of you who've had their ACLs, right, and whatnot, they have this machine where it slowly helps you bend your knee. I didn't have that machine, so my knee ended up getting stuck like this, Bill.
Well,
So like I had to figure out a way to break through all that scar tissue while being in COVID with no help. Like I ain't go to school for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta figure this out right now. And the only alternative that I could think of was putting my leg on a chair, grabbing a 45-pound weight, and just breaking through that scar tissue. Like real gritty, Bill. Like real gritty. Like painfully gritty. Real. Trained myself that whole year, man. Came back for that 6 year during COVID. I remember them telling us that if we don't play ball, like the school's gonna go under. So we weren't really given a choice when the whole world shut down and everybody else is worried about dying. We're told that like, hey, you're playing regardless, right? So this took out the factor of possibly seeing my mom because she had a heart condition at that time. And we played out that year, man. And it was the weirdest thing because it felt like every Saturday was just a big ass scrimmage. Big stadium, but a big ass scrimmage. So it's like it got boring after a while, right? So we didn't have a great year. Following year, my mom ended up passing away, and I was ready to kind of quit football at that point in time, and that was 2021. I'm ready to quit football, ready to call it in, call it quits, and the team shows up to the funeral, all of them, from head coach the whole way down to the staff managers to the equipment managers. They all show up for me at my mom's funeral, and in that moment, I knew God was calling on me to go back to ball, right? I'm a big believer of numbers, Bill. So I'm a big believer of 3, 7, 6, and 5. Those are my numbers. And in 7, God changed my life for the worst and for the best, right? Ended up winning the Disney Spirit Award, ACC championship, a lot of things, and didn't get the equal opportunity that I wanted, but still had an amazing time and end up having some crazy experiences I could never take back, right? So very grateful for my college journey. I know that was a lot in a little bit of time, but I wanted to share that with you and give you some of the nuggets that most people don't get.
no, man, I really appreciate you even sharing a lot of that too, man. And I wrote down a lot of stuff here that I want to touch on off of it too. One of the things that you said too, go back to, I want to reflect back when you were in the hospital and you said you
For
heard
sure.
God, right?
Right.
You heard God. So let's go back to that. Talk about that a little bit too, because your journey, man, like obviously, people that believe out there, like myself, I'm a Christian, and there's these moments that happen, and it's God's way of kind of working through your life, whether it's trials, tribulations, good things, the good and the bad.
Right.
whatever it is. And through those moments you kind of figure out who you are, and that led you to Tre Tipton, who you are. You're so good at helping people, man. You're so good at speaking to
Thank you.
people. You're so good at getting people to listen to you and lifting people up. You have a gift with that too, and
Thank
you
you.
you need to know that more and more and hear that more and more, because you can just see it, like even watching YouTube videos on you and stuff like that too, about love and what you're
Right.
doing with your organization, like seeing the smiles that people had just off of you talking to them too. But I think it's going back to these moments, these tough moments that most people would just put their head down and just say, I'm done. They'd
Right.
curl up in a ball and say, I'm done, but not you. You're special. That's the thing. And you're really special. I mean, because I want you to reflect on that moment again though, in this, cause that you heard God. So go back to that again.
For sure. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I don't know if I really ever talked to anybody about this, so I might actually get emotional on this one.
No, you're good.
Um,
Go.
so I remember I got my first dosage of Dilaudid, right? And like I told you, Dilaudid is like medical heroin. And I remember like my eyes, I could feel my eyes, like my pupils just like really dilate, like go real big, right? And in that moment, bro, I'm just sitting here for a second, kind of depressed, right? Like just for a second, a split second, I'm like, that mindset that I once had tried to creep back in. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember hearing God say, get up. Like my eyes are closed, Bill. Like at this point, like my eyes are closed. I'm high as it all can be from this, all the drugs they done gave me. And I just remember hearing God say, get up. And I'm like, no. I remember just feeling myself be like, no, I'm not doing this right now. And he was like, get up. And I'm just like, I woke up and I like, opened my eyes. And I remember calling my boy, like, bro, like, I don't understand right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't understand, but I don't feel broken. Like, I don't feel like it's over. Like, I just don't feel like the game's over. It just didn't make sense. And I was like, bro, like, to be honest with you, it has to be God. And since then, I've been really sitting here thinking, and I've even pondered to that day, to this day, just thinking like, why did you choose me? And I've come up with this conclusion: like, when you're chosen, right, you don't decide on the grief you go through.
Mm.
like for real, like when you're chosen, right, when you're really chosen by God to change your family's dynamic, to change the generation, right, it's not up to you on how God wants you to do it. And in that moment, bro, I genuinely felt that because I was like, I'm not quitting here. I've been through too much to quit now. I've literally been through too much to quit now. So in that moment, I was like, I'm not quitting. Doesn't matter if you break me. You can't kill me. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't break the man that I am. It's just not possible. I might not be around you no more, but you'll never break me. I might get down to my knees, but I'll get back up. Right. And there was this warrior complex, and I couldn't even understand why I was feeling this way, but I was like, you're not gonna break me again. And then that devil creeped back in. He started talking to me again. And the one analogy that I tend to use nowadays, and now I think about it, it even goes back to then. When you look down at the ground with your eyes open, that's the opportunity for the devil to laugh at you because that's what he's been wanting. The only time I bow my head is in front of my Lord. And when I do that, my eyes are closed. There's a difference. So in that moment of defeat, man, I felt myself like, yo, like, what do you want to do? You want to boss up or you want to go ahead and quit? Because you promised yourself that last year that you would never get back to that space. Are you going to get up or are you not? It's that simple. It's one or two. It's one or two. What you want to do? You either want to quit, because you can quit. If you stop breathing in that breathing apparatus, like they said, you'll go into that coma. You may never wake up. It might not work for you. Or you tap in, you figure it out, and you make sure this works. And I remember God just kept saying, get up, get up. And I'm like, no, you can keep saying it, like, get up, get up, get up. And I remember the first time I tried to walk, Bill, it was the funniest thing ever. They're like, we're going to try to get you to walk now. In my head, again, Bill, as I'd already told you, I'm fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. My first experience in walking, as soon as I stood up, Bill, because I didn't have enough oxygen going to my brain, as soon as I stood up, I passed out. Like, I'm talking about, like, stood up, went to sleep. like, like it was crazy. And I had to relearn how to walk and breathe, which was an experience. And I just remember praying every day, like, God, give me strength. God, give me strength. And no crap, Bill, like, yo, like when I say give me strength, like I wasn't supposed to come back for ball for 6 months. I came back in two. Bill, 2 months, Bill, doing a position that you know for a fact that it's a lot of running and breathing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, that experience, man, I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, okay, you chose me. You chose me to be the person to show people that anything is possible. Anything. And if it ain't the people in the world, it's definitely my family. So if that's the case, then there's no quit. There is none. It could be painful. It can hurt. You can even cry about it, but you ain't gonna quit.
Mm.
Get your ass up, figure it out. And that's kind of something I've been living by. I've been dying by, to be honest with you, because there's been multiple opportunities when that devil even creeped back into my head, where those negative thoughts tried and tried and tried. And I just remind myself, you was that guy, you was that guy, you was that kid. You know what I mean? So I genuinely believe when you're chosen, right, you don't get a choice on how God chooses you. You know what I mean? He gives his biggest problems to his best warriors.
I was trying to find it real quick while you're just finishing up there. There's a Bible verse too that you just reminded me of. I think it's Mark 8:22, and I don't know the exact verse itself. I was trying to look it up, but when you said, when a man looks down, the devil laughs, and as a man looks down, and basically the devil will laugh in your face. But there's also a verse too when a man stands up to the devil and tells him that Satan, get behind me. The devil runs
Mm,
away and squeals.
mm,
So that's what you reminded me of when you just said that too, is you can clearly tell the devil just to get behind you and leave you alone. Jesus did that too. And I've heard that verse over and over through Bible studies and stuff like that, and it just came to me as you were talking about that too. I'm pretty sure it's Mark 8:22, but so powerful what you've done, man, like in the journey and everything, because God did put you in this position. God did put you in this position you're at right now in life. Gave you the microphone that you have right now in life too. Gave you the microphone you had at Pitt too, to reach out and touch people too. And that microphone's only going to get bigger, in my opinion. And
appreciate that, Bill.
yeah, and I got such a good feeling about it, man, with you and stuff too, because it's like I said, seeing those smiles on those people's faces, seeing the smiles on the people's faces within TCS with you, and when you talk, and when you're around them too, man, you're just an overall good dude too. And just you and I have got to know each other really well. We obviously click really well too, just because of our
Sure.
past, and just football life and everything as well. And a lot of the dark moments that we go through in life, like you said, such a big believer, and it's God's path for us. But I think there is chosen people by God, and I strongly believe you're one of them too. I believe I'm one of them in some kind of way
For
too.
sure.
I don't know how he's going to use me. Maybe he's using me now. I just don't know. We don't know. We just got to keep moving forward, like you said, right?
For sure.
And I wanted to go back to, because this is such an important thing too. Earlier on in your story, um, when you were talking about your girlfriend, you said you kind of felt like you had to be a superhero to everybody, right? And I
Right.
think a lot of men out there and women feel, like they have to be that superhero. They have to, deal with everything. They have to get hit in all different directions. You even talked about, like, you had to deal with her trauma instead of your
Right.
own, right? And I think a lot of men deal with that in a lot of ways too, where even in their entrepreneur journeys too, like running a business. You and I talked about it the other day. Running a business, you're dealing with everything. You're dealing with
Right.
everybody's problems but your own, right?
Right.
And even being a father or being a husband or being a boyfriend or being whatever, us as men, as leaders, that's what we do. but we don't really have anywhere to go for us. And then you and I start joking we should have the locker room, but we
Hey,
will.
hey, hey, let's keep that
Yeah,
under
that's
wraps right now. You
yeah,
gotta keep that
yeah,
under wraps,
yeah.
Bill.
That's
They can't
under
know about that
wraps
yet.
right now. We're not talking about that. But no, I mean, on a serious note, how did you deal? What's your opinion on that? Because there's a lot of people out there listening to this too, and I want to get Tre's tip on, or your take on this too. It's just there's a lot of men out there that just deal with the weight of the world and they keep everything in. So what's your take on that?
One thing's for sure, two things for certain, man. You gotta understand on what people you're around, right? Like, and I mean this with all due respect to everybody who's watching, right? But when you feel that sense and urgency of that you're chosen by God to be the person that leads your family, right? There's going to be people around you who doesn't understand on why you are the way you are, right? They don't understand why you move the way you move, why you talk the way you talk, and why you walk the way you walk. So with that said, right, you got to find others that are like you, others that understand you. You have to communicate because if you hold it in, you'll become like me, right? What happened to me, Bill, was this simple. I use this theory anywhere I go speak, anywhere I go talk. I use this theory all the time. It's called the glass cup theory. You take a glass cup, right, and you pour water into it over and over and over again. What happens, Bill? We overflow, right? After we overflow, that's us typically doing things that we naturally wouldn't do. Maybe arguing with our kids, maybe arguing with our spouse, maybe doing things that we don't agree with, right? But see, here's the thing. In that moment, you have a choice. You could do one or two things. You could pour some out into somebody else, and they're going to pour some out to another person, but only the people who understand, right? Because only the people who understand can actually hold their cup and also take your information in. Now, if you decide to hold all that pain in, what typically happens is you begin to overflow, but sometimes when you overflow, the person who's trying to hold you up has a shaky hand.
Mhm.
So if they have a shaky hand and you're also going through it and that glass breaks, it's hard to pick up those pieces. So you got to be careful on who you share your information with, right? You got to give it to the right people. You got to know who you're giving it to. Not everybody deserves your trauma and not everybody deserves your pain.
Mm,
But with that said, it's also on you to find those people who can withstand that, can understand your pain, can understand your trauma, and actually look at you and say, you know what, I'm going through the same things. Can we talk? Because those conversations are what changed my life, right? I've had guys who I was able to relate to, have conversations with, and open up about the things that I went through. That's not even probably, to be honest with you, that's probably not even the worst of it, right? But with that said, those people allow me to be who I need to be. See, my tribe is not it's not an easy tribe. My tribe's not big either. Like my tribe's about four, right? So with that said, right, like they understand when Tre's not all right, what does it look like?
mm,
Because I give them that. When Tre's not feeling good, what does it look like? Because there's times I can't take care of myself. That's just honesty. Everybody wants to play superhuman until it's time to be superhuman. So with that said, right, like my tribe knows, like, yeah, we gotta check in on Tip. How can we talk about it? How do we approach this? And I do the same thing for them, vice versa, right? So in doing so, man, like it's having an understanding and a permission that you have to give yourself, by the way, permission, because you'll hold things away from people even when you try to give it to them, right? You have to give yourself permission to go and speak to these people, to give love to these people, to give yourself to these people. Like, yo, like it's okay. Go ahead. Right? Like it's okay to be able to be vulnerable here. Go ahead. Right? Because not again, not everybody deserves your trauma. Not everybody can handle it. I've dealt with that, especially as of recently, Bill. Like, not everybody can really understand what I've been through, what I go through, and what I've been honestly at times running from, right?
mm,
But the people who help you stand and fight and show you, like, hey, we're good. Hey, be all right. Let's go. Let's work, right? Those are the people that I keep around, man. Like, those are the people who I allow myself to be human around. Now, the other people, right? You got to hold those people up. They need you to hold them up. And that is okay, right? But make sure that you're reaching out to your tribe when it's too tough, it's too much. Because if not, bro, you can find yourself drowning fast. And if that glass cup breaks, Bill, it's hard to pick up glass and put it back together. It really is, right? So don't let it happen. Share with the right people. Change your recruiting habits. That's what I tell all my friends right now. Like, hey, be careful who you recruiting on your team, dog. Like, because not everybody's supposed to be your star player. You feel me? So like, be careful on who you recruit, right? Like, who are you allowing around you? I even had to revamp and relook at the people that I'm around, right? Like, My once before recruiting habits can't be the same. I leveled up.
Right.
They might have leveled up in a different way, in a different light, in a different life. And that is okay. But you can't sit at this table no more. You can get some takeout, but you can't sit at the table and eat with me. You feel me? So that's kind of the best advice I could give to anybody, man. Like, know your tribe, like really know your tribe and let them know you. Stop trying to be stop trying to be too much. You're not Jesus. Even Jesus had 12 disciples. Think about that.
True.
Think about that. That's so you're trying to tell me you're better than Jesus by trying to do everything on your own. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Like he had 12 of them things, you feel me? So well, why shouldn't you have people that you can honestly open up to and be honest with, be thorough with? You understand me? So that's my best advice.
I love that, man. I think a lot of men struggle with that too because we all play the tough role too. We all want to be
For
the
sure.
hard-headed role, and we don't want to talk soft. We don't want to share your problems. But when you're just upfront about them too, and you find people you can trust with them and talk about it, and it goes a long way, man. And it helps you out a lot. It's like you said, man. Don't let that glass break. But I think a lot of people get to a boiling point where they let that break and then they
Right.
just break down and they curl up and they just stop. They just, and it gets worse and worse and worse. I do highly believe in what you're saying as far as people need to find a group, community, people they can trust, recruit, like you said, recruit better, find better friends, find people that you can grow with too. That's been a huge thing in my life the last 4 or 5 years now is just finding new people, meeting people like yourself that I can connect with, be upfront with, and it's taken me not just in life, but mentally in a better place too,
Right.
life mentally as a father, as a husband, like, having these people in my corner where I can ask them advice about something, man. I'm new to this, you and I talked about it a while ago on a podcast. I'm new to this dad thing. I'm always
Right.
learning dad thing, I'm always
Right.
learning this husband thing. I'm still new to the husband thing, man. My 2 year anniversary is coming up in November. So it's like, you
Congratulations
know,
again.
yeah, I'm new to that, man. It's like so you're always learning through experiences. You're always uh it's just life, man. Life and you got to learn, but it's also good to have people in your corner that can help you too a little bit and get a little bit further and further. So I love what you said there too. One thing you talked about too, and I want you to, because this is on topic of what we're talking about, is you said adversity is a comma in the sentence of life, not a period.
Yes,
Talk about
sir.
that statement.
Man, so I made that statement that day I was on the bridge. My aunt
Mhm.
had kind of said it from our pastor, Miss Sheila Hunt. She had said it something along those lines. And she said, adversity is nothing but a comma. And I remember saying to myself, I said, wait a minute, it's not just a comma, right? Like, adversity is a comma, but it's not a period. Like, people put a period on a situation of adversity or obstacle. An obstacle is just an obstacle in order for you to grow, right? For the sentence to continue and to move on, right? So, like, don't let yourself just stop yourself simply because this moment is hard. Hey, it's okay, right? It doesn't have to be the end all be all. Just because this moment hurts doesn't mean that you won't grow. You know what I mean? Like, one of the strongest flowers in the world is a lily pad and or a sunflower, and it grows through some of the harshest weathers, right? The harshest, not the easiest, the harshest. And it's one of the most beautiful flowers. And why that is so important is because how does beauty grow through pain? Think about it. How does beauty grow through pain? See, it has to go through those things in order for it to get beautiful. It has to. It has no choice. It has to be nurtured. So that means you have to take care of yourself. So you have to talk to some people. You have to get nutrition. Who are you listening to? Who are you allowing to talk and to speak into you? You know what I mean? You have to go through these things because if you don't, you won't be prepared for what God's actually trying to do for you. I know big blessings are coming my way because I've had big trials and tribulations. And in doing so, right, what I went through is going to save somebody else's life. That's a guarantee. Doesn't mean that it has to be the same form. Doesn't have to look the same the way that it did when it was for me, the pain that was coming my way, right? But because I went through that pain, I'm now strong enough to help somebody else out. I'm now strong enough to help myself out. I'm also now strong enough to maybe one day hold up my child, to maybe one day hold up my mother, to maybe one day hold up my father, to maybe one day, you see what I'm saying? You're getting these things because you're not prepared yet. You may think that you're ready for your biggest blessing, but you're not prepared yet. That's why you keep going through the hardship. God's preparing you. It might look ugly. It might not feel good. It might be extremely painful, but there's a reason for everything that's going on. Bill, this is crazy, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Losing my mom was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Mm.
It made me grow up. It gave me no choice. I had no safety harness. There wasn't one to rely on. I couldn't just fall back, right? But in that moment, I can honestly say to you, Bill, I'm in the best version of myself I've ever been. And it's not even a close. And I say a close because when I tell you right now, bro, like back in the day, Bill, it was real. It was real deal Holyfield, man. I was losing my mind, right? So like in that sense, man, like I had to go through those things. If I didn't, I don't know if I'd be strong enough to be where I'm at right now. I don't know if I'd be strong enough to deal with the business I've had to deal with, the people I've had to deal with, the people I had to be around, the people I've lost, the friendships and all the above. So it's necessary. It's that nutrition to allow you to be the flower. You want to be that flower, then you're gonna have to go through it. It's gonna be hard. I ain't say it was gonna be easy. That's the one thing I tell all my friends, yo, every time, Bill. Every time. I say, you believe in Jesus Christ? They say, yeah. I said, so what in your left or right mind makes you believe your life was supposed to be easy? Make it make sense. If the person that was made perfect was hung up, strapped in, had thorns or nails in his hands, wore thorns on his head, was was forced to carry a cross and to be humiliated and to have rocks thrown at him and to have all these things happen to him, and he still did it with the understanding that I'm doing it for a purpose. Didn't bat an eye, didn't shed a tear, kept pushing forward. And you expect your life to be easy?
Mm.
What are we talking about? What are we really talking about? Make the decision. I ain't saying it's not gonna hurt. I ain't say that. I'm sure them nails in his hands were extremely painful. Those lashes on his back were extremely painful. I didn't say it was gonna be easy. I didn't say the pain that you're currently going through was easy. I didn't say that. I didn't say getting up on your 2 feet is easy. I didn't say that you're just gonna be happy tomorrow. That's the one thing that people forget about getting positivity. Getting positivity is that nutrition that is difficult to get. You gotta work for it. You gotta earn it. You gotta go through some hell to get some glory. Because if not, you're not getting anything, Bill. You ain't really the chosen that you said you were. See, Bill, what's crazy is I don't share everything with everybody. I don't. I really don't. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the best at it, but I give it to the people who deserve it. But with that said, right, I go through things that I know for a fact that people couldn't handle.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you do too. And I'm sure the next person next to you already has as well. But did you wake up? Did you get up? Let's figure it out. Did you wake up? Did you get up? Then let's figure it out. Did you wake up? Did you get up? It's already figured out. So let yesterday be yesterday. Let today to be today. Let today be today, and let tomorrow be tomorrow. Only thing that you can focus on is right now, because right now decides the respect of the past and the respect of the future. Respect of the past is learning the lessons. Respect of the future is preparing for it. So if you're not your best version of you right now, you'll lose yourself. So just keep working on it. Keep working on it. It ain't gonna happen overnight. Ain't nobody said that. That's why you have to put in that constant effort. I don't know if you ever heard of the book Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Mm-mm.
You ever hear that book, Bill?
Mm-mm.
Man, you need to get that book, right? Because this guy, right?
What was it? What was it called again?
Chop wood, carry water,
Oh.
right? And this guy, he wanted to become either I want to say a samurai or a sensei, right? But he was expecting to do it overnight. And his sensei kept telling him over and over and over again, this doesn't happen overnight. This is a 5-year process. And he has him doing tedious jobs over and over and over again, making him get really detailed, right? Essentially, what's happening here, you want to build a wall, right? But if you build the wall too fast and don't look at the minor details, that wall is eventually going to fall. See, what he essentially asks the student is, he asks the student to lay that brick perfectly every time. Just that one. Come back tomorrow and lay another one. You're asking me to build a wall, sir. This takes about 100 bricks. I'll be here for 100 days, maybe even 365 days. But you're asking me to do it perfectly every time. That's the minor detail. That's the growth. It aligns with the same story of the bamboo tree. Do you know how long it takes a bamboo tree to grow, Bill?
Yeah, years.
A lot of years, right? But it's those small details. If that farmer stops at any given moment, that tree won't grow. That is hard, Bill. That's discipline. That's time. That's detail. That's life. That's your goal that you're chasing. That's whatever you're chasing in your life. That marriage, that woman. Bill, I'll tell you this right now. I'm a great human being, but I had to learn to be a great man for a woman. I ain't never seen it before. I don't even know what it looked like, Bill. Listen, Bill. All of my uncles, my pops, them boys was players, players off the block. You understand me? So like, with that said, I had to relearn. I had to retrain my brain. Those small, minor details, right? You're in your second year getting married. There's things that you're probably still learning. You're like, bro, I didn't see my dad do it, but I'm still confused.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's laying that brick the best that you can over and over and over and over again. And that's the process. You fall in love with that detail. And that's where I'm at right now, Bill. I'm falling in love with it. I'm trying my best to. It's not easy, but I'm trying.
I want to go into this a little bit with you too, if you don't mind. I mean, as I sit in front of you and I listen to you, and every time I listen to you, man, every time I talk to you, you're just a good man. Like you just everything you've gone through in life, man. You're anybody would be proud of, like proud of you, man. Like it's just
Thank you.
you're such a great man, and I want to talk about your mom a little bit too, her impact on that, her influence on
So
that. She passed away, you said in 2021,
June
and
12th.
yeah, and obviously she raised a good son, and
Thank
she
you.
had to have had some impact on you too,
For sure.
and I want you to go into that, like her impact with you in your life and what she did and how she's contributed to, Trey today.
Okay, Bill, you like asking tough questions. I like it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Ah, man, that was my best friend. For sure, yo. That was my best friend. You know what I mean? She taught me a lot. She taught me on how to be a man for a woman to a degree, right? How you open a door, how you clean up after yourself, how you take care of the business, how you cook, right? But more than anything, she just taught me how to love, man. Like, I've seen my mom taking people off the street. I've seen my mom taking people that, as family members, that as adults, you would think they should have it together, but she didn't hesitate, right? I found out that I was adopted, not realizing that my mom was also adopted.
Mm.
You know, so like these experiences, man, that my mom had, man, I seen her be beaten. I've seen her be beat up. I've seen her figure out life. To be honest with you, she taught me what it meant to be chosen, right? Because to be chosen by God, it's not easy. And every time it wasn't easy, she just got back up. She ain't even slow down, Bill. Like I'm talking about like didn't even slow down. She got beat up. Okay, I got 2 jobs now. She got beat up. Okay, now I got 3 jobs now. Life kept hitting her, but she kept getting back up. So when you ask me where that resilience comes from, it comes from Kim Tipton, right? I don't know if I'd be the person or the man that you claim to me to be without a woman that's like that, right? I also see my mom, to be honest with you, my mom was probably one of the strongest women I've ever seen in my life. The only person I know that could probably beat her up was Muhammad Ali because she had this right hook, Bill. I'm trying to tell you, like, came home late one time, she hit me with a 6-piece combo, McChicken, right? Like straight McChicken, like right. So in that moment, man, like she taught me so much about myself, but she also gave me freedom to make mistakes. Like a lot of freedom, bro. Like I was out there getting it, Bill. I ain't even gonna hold you. Like I was out there making moves to make sure that my family was taken care of, right? But she always made sure, like, yo, chill out. You're doing too much. Come back, reel it back in. You know what I'm saying? She always did her best. She always did her best. She always gave her best. She always put her best foot forward. Anything that she could have, she give it to somebody else.
Mm.
Anybody, Bill. She couldn't even know you, Bill. If I told my mom right now, my man Bill's down bad, can he just stay a couple months? She'd be like, let him stay the year. That's what type of person she was, and she wouldn't hesitate. So it's hard for me to not take people in, and like it really is, because I've watched it my whole life. I'm talking about like she would take in people that I wouldn't even know, that I don't even not even sure if she knew. You know what I'm saying? And let them live in our crib. They could have murdered us. They could have did anything, but she would take care of them and she wouldn't hesitate. So with a heart like that, it was hard not to kind of take that on, like to kind of have that resemblance to create that resilience. I watched resilience from this woman. I watched a caretaker from this woman, a giver, an adopter, a whole boatload of things that I could never, never, never repay her for, right? But in those moments, man, she also just let me just be me. I've held my mom as she's cried about my grandmother. You know what I'm saying? Like, I fought grown men for my mom. You feel me? Like, I've done things for my mom that like most young children don't do, but at the same time, bro, like she protected me in ways I don't think many people could understand. Genuinely, bro. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, she gave me things that she didn't have, but she give it to me anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't have the money, but she figured it out, right? Like, she would do things that was just by far, right? Queen type nature, right? She taught me what a queen should look like in the eyes of a man, right? But then on top of that, what a king should be doing for a queen. Now, was I always right? No, because don't forget, I still had those uncles who were on the block being players, right? Like I ain't always have all the good stuff. But in the same right, in the same token, man, like she really gave me all she had. That's all I could ever ask for. And that's the woman, Kim Tipton, man. Like a lover, a carer, a provider, a protector, a boxer. You know what I mean? Like I watched my mom walk. Listen, Bill. Listen, Bill. I watched my mom ride this lady down some stairs by her throat like a sleeping bag. I don't think you understand, Bill. Like talking about down some steps, sleeping bag style. I know we all did it as kids, right? So like the experiences that I had experienced through my mom, yeah, they're crazy, but like she's built different, bro. Like she was a genuinely giving and caring person.
I'm going to take you into this a little bit more too with what everything you just said about her, because she obviously is a reflection of you. She's there with you,
100%.
obviously. You said you saw her take people off the street. Well, let's go to you and reflect on you. How many people have you helped off the street? You know, how many people have you taken care of within the schools and stuff like that, and the things that you're doing too. You said she's been beaten. You saw, she's been beaten, but she gets back up, would get back up every time. Well, look at you and your story. We talked about how many times you've been beaten and got back up through
Right.
your football journey and through life too. You said she's strong. Well, look at yourself too. You're a very strong person. We talked about playing that hero role as a man, and you have significantly done that through your story too. Resilience, showed resilience. You constantly through this story too have showed resilience and who Tre Tipton is too. You're a caretaker. You take care of people. Like I've said too, like you talk to me, you've helped me out in ways. You've helped a lot of people within TCS, within one team in a lot of ways too that you don't even know. And you're a fighter. I mean, you keep on moving forward too. You never quit. Like all those things you said about your mom are you too, man. It's crazy to think
Appreciate that.
about. Yeah, and she's right there with you. And I mean, I'm a million percent sure she's right there with you, proud of you too, man, because like this story, your story and everything, it just goes full circle with everything you just said about her too. So um awesome, man. And one thing I wanted to wrap up with too is like let's go into today. Obviously, you with One Team Media, working with TCS, working with TPG, the pavement group. Let's talk about life today and where you see yourself going in your role today. Where is this life we just talked about too, and the resilience and the fighter of Tre Tipton and all the impact that you've already had. What's next for you? What's the next impact that you're gonna have? Obviously being in the construction industry too, and being around a bunch of construction guys, there's
Right.
so many people you can impact. That's with this podcast alone. I know there's a lot of construction guys listen to this, and I know you're going to help them. I don't know in what way yet, but you're already helping them probably through this episode. But there's more Tre Tipton for them too. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. Right now, honestly, a lot of amazing blessings have been coming our way, right? Like now I'm on a podcast with Christian Kuntz, which is a Pittsburgh Steeler here in our city.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the ultimate goal, bro, what God's really calling me to do is the same thing my mom did, was to serve. Right. I don't know how that's going to be. I really don't. I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing when that happens. I could be in movies. I could be, I don't know, yo. Like God blesses me in a lot of different ways. He really does. So with that said, man, like all I know, right, I'm still going to follow that mission that my mom set out for me. You know what I mean? I'm going to serve. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to change lives and I'm going to change my own life. I'm going to be a hero to me first, right? And that ultimately was the biggest thing that I wanted to learn from myself was how could I be a hero to me? Not just like to everybody else, right? Because it's one thing to be a hero to everybody else, but to be a hero for yourself, that's something different. That's hard to do. You know what I mean? That's a very tough task. But with that said, that's where I'm headed, man. I want to really serve people. I want to be able to give back. And now, when you talk about in what ways, how many people have I saved? How many people do I do things for, man? I honestly can't count. I'm not gonna lie, Bill, and I wouldn't take any of it back. I really wouldn't. Every day, if I could, I'd serve some way, somehow. I love people so much because I believe that people can make change, but they gotta want to, and it's not easy. Making change is the hardest thing to do in the whole entire world, especially when you have things that you care about, but the other side of you is fighting you, right? It's not easy. So my ultimate goal, Bill, is to genuinely serve God's people. And however that is, whether that's on podcasts, whether that's me being in the streets, taking care of the hungry, I don't know. But whatever he wants me to do, I'm gonna do it. I'm not even gonna question it. So that's where I'm at, Bill.
And one thing I like about you too, man, is you serve to serve. The things you're doing, just with kids too. Like you and I talk about it all the time with like high school kids, and a lot of these kids don't have good upbringings, and just being there, being a present person in their lives, and teaching them how leadership and how to be leaders in this world too, with your 7-on-7s and those types of things that you're running as well. It's huge, man. And you don't reach out to, you don't put it all over social media and try and just get credit for it and make flash out of it. You're doing it, like you said, to serve people, serve God's people. And it's awesome. It's awesome watching your journey. I'm glad I can be a part of it, man. And it's been great having you on this. Obviously, you're going to come back on again and
For sure.
again. We're going to do stuff together in the future. You and I have always said that too, man. There's something for us both in the future. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but we got some ideas coming for the late future,
Yeah, we gotta
keeping
keep
it
those
keeping it
quiet,
disclosed.
man.
Yeah, that one we're keeping quiet, but there'll be more other stuff too, for sure, man. But I appreciate you. This was awesome, brother. This was awesome.
Thank you,
So
Bill.
so
Appreciate it.
with that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening. Obviously, 5-star reviews because that's what this one deserves. Like, share, comment, subscribe, share it with friends and family. It goes a long way, and we will see you guys on the next episode.